Alright, now that you can see a sort of map, a Senate map, a highly contentious map over who the Supreme Court nominee will be voted upon, which then we can have a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. I'm going to direct you to the short list. The short list includes people such as Barbara Lagoa and Amy Coney Barrett. Okay, now let me get this through first. I'm going to be using some liberal source so I can read what the enemy will say about our nominees, perhaps. So, as you can see right now, the more obvious one is Amy Barry Cohen. As you can see right now, here's the stats of our fighter here. She's 48 years old right now. Okay, she went to Rhodes College, who cares, and Notre Dame, which is good optics. Again, we need Ivy Leagues in power, right? And she is a devout Catholic, which means that she will be pro-life, if anything. So this is a good thing. Remember, she's been in consideration. People have been eyeing her. I've read from Bush Jr. that he was thinking about picking her for Supreme Court even as early as 2005. Okay? So she's been making rounds overall, right? As you can see, she's been in years in the federal circuits, among other things. Alright, so this is an interesting type of thing. She is an originalist. What does that mean? It's basically that she's conservative on the issues, alright? Right? Now, the most important issue to many conservatives, such as myself, would be Roe v. Wade. We have to examine how you are thinking about the dynamics of who's going to vote for what, right? When we have a majority, we ought to have a strong majority, not the weak majority that we have right now with the cuck, John Roberts. So, let's get on to Amy. Now, Amy Coney Barrett is a judge on the Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit and is on the short list, right? So, in terms of health care, Trump said that he wanted to have people that are against Obamacare. So they better be against Obamacare, unlike John Roberts, who voted twice to save it. Okay? She criticized Roberts for upholding the authority to enact a lot of the ACA, which is obviously unconstitutional because it's a fee. And fees are unconstitutional, but taxes are constitutional, by the way. So basically what happened is that he changed the definition from it being a fee to a tax. Okay? So pretty interesting there. She's pretty anti-Obamacare, which is a good thing. In terms of reproductive rights, which is a code word for murdering fetuses, being pro-choice and abortion, Trump has made it clear that he will only put in Supreme Court justices who pass the litmus test of overturning or gutting, as in making it weaker, the case for federal provisions for saving abortions now. Trump has said that overturning Roe v. Wade is a priority because he will be putting pro-life justices on the court. Barrett meets the test, the litmus test. She called Roe v. Wade judicial fiat, and that the framework of Roe is essentially permitted abortion on demand, and it recognizes that nobody cares about the fetus by the state level. And she's been critical of the stare decisis. People say, stare decisis, precedent. Basically, when the Supreme Court rules on something, it is harder to contradict that because it already has a narrative set. It already has a continuum of what is legal and what is not. So a lot of arguments by rhinos and weak moderate Republicans will be that, well, Roe v. Wade is the law, we'll give up. Or, John Kasich, gay marriage is the law, we give up. No. We are going to be tough on this, and that's exactly what she's saying right here. Barrett voted to rehear a case that helped limit the right to abortion pre-viability, meaning that she has voted to restrict abortions and how far along they go. And most people can agree that late-term abortion is bad, partial birth abortion, etc. Right? Also, she's for notification law. So again, she is good for these issues. She has been against forcing contraception through the Affordable Care Act, forcing them on Catholic churches. So here's where her Catholicism helps America and the conservative movement, right? So in terms of racial discrimination, she's basically permitting a separate but equal arrangement. So she is not very pro new civil rights, which is great. Okay, so equality, we're keeping the status quo. This is good. protections for the wealthy and the powerful over the rights for all. So again, I'm reading it the way they are so that you can tell how they're rigging it against our people, okay? So this is what we're looking at. She's getting rid of a lot of things where it would benefit people that are suing. This is a huge tort reform thing, but nobody cares about that, so we're skipping it. In terms of guns, Barrett dissented when there was a decision on the federal law restricting felons' gun rights. So basically, it pointed out she's a gun girl, all right? Period. Good. Protect the Second Amendment. That's a key issue. D.C. versus Heller, something versus McDonald. These are the such case, Chicago versus McDonald, I think, are cases where our Second Amendment was defended. This is exactly what we need. We need a strong majority that will cement the Second Amendment and set precedents that liberals cannot flip later on. In terms of criminal justice, she's a tough on crimer, and if we're reading this right now, we can see that people are complaining that she's too tough on crime, that she's absent when they're talking about advocating for felons, but I don't care about felons. In terms of immigration, she rules against immigrants seeking relief from deportations, and she voted to permit deportation of a lawful resident for 30 who had lived here illegally for 30 years. Okay? So she does not believe in due process for undocumented immigrants, which is a great thing. When we're talking about the refugee thing, she's pretty anti-refugee apparently. And she also wrote an opinion affirming the Supreme Court's idea or whatever of allowing Donald Trump to deport 300,000 El Salvadorian Central American illegal immigrants, which is good. She's also getting rid of protections for illegals protesting the government and having due process before a court for committing a crime, which is something that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the woman that died recently, she was for you not being able to deport felons immediately, whereas she's fine with deporting them immediately, which is a great thing. The public charge rule, very key. The public charge rule is saying we can deny you of coming to the country if you're poor. She said that is right, and she's using a precedent from a thing from a long time ago. And it says that you're not allowed to have welfare benefits the first couple years that you're here, which is a good thing. It'll keep the poor people out. Now, when we look at the record for the next contestant in this race for Supreme Court Justice, we have the Asian-looking Cuban lady, all right, Barbara Lagoa, 53 years old, almost. She has a lot of credentials as well. As you can see right here, her education's from Columbia, which is a good thing. She was a judge in the Florida 3rd District Court of Appeal for 13 years, okay? Appointed by Jeb Bush. Okay. Chief Justice of the Florida 3rd District Court of Appeal for a week. Justice of the Supreme Court of Florida, appointed by the great Governor Ronald DeSantis, and now you have her elevated to the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th District under Donald Trump as of December of 2019. So she has a lot of experience. She's been in high-level judgeship for about 14 years. She was born in Miami. She fled Cuba following the revolution by Fidel Castro. And this proves that, she's obviously anti-socialism, right-wing on economics, which is a good thing, anti-Obamacare, etc. And when you look at her history, she's optical. She was voted very overwhelmingly, 18-4, in the Senate Judiciary Committee to get into the appeals. She's already been vetted because she's been here already, okay? And she's married to another guy who's a judge on a court, so whatever. And as you can see here, we have a perfect combination on the court, right? Anyways, so let's get onto Barbara Lagoa's pages here. In terms of healthcare, she criticized the ACA. She criticized Roberts as well for defending it. In terms of reproductive rights, Lagoa is anti-choice, which is good. In terms of democracy, nobody cares. protections for the wealthy over the rights of all. Look at the framing of this, but still, this is not as hostile as it was for Amy Barry Cohen or Amy Coney Barrett. Why? Well, she's Latina. That's the point. Immigration. She held that the Court of Appeals had no reason to review an immigrant's appeal for getting kicked out of the country. So she's pro-immigration restrictionism, which is a good thing as well. Alright, so she has a great background as well. Better than Amy Barron Cohen or whatever. Why? Well, because she is Latina. That's the only thing that matters, alright? I'm not even kidding. Why? Well, when you're looking at a list of 45 people and Trump goes down to 2, either of the 2 are strong candidates. And as you can see on the court right now, you have John Roberts, who's a moderate. You have Clarence Thomas, which is a rock rib-based conservative. Stephen Breyer, who's a liberal. Samuel Alito, who's a strong conservative. Sonia Sotomayor, who is the first Latina on the Supreme Court, but is Puerto Rican, so it doesn't really count. And who's a liberal. Elena Kagan, who's a Jewish lady. Neil Gorsuch, which is a conservative. And Brett Kavanaugh, who's a conservative, who's choice as well to an extent. So as you can see, the court, look at the credentials: Harvard, Yale, Harvard. What you need to see here is that we need somebody in the Ivies. Lagoa is more suitable to those applications. Again, we need to be able to have people who are versatile and appeal to a lot of demographics. Okay, she has the Ivy credentials. Justice Barbara has Spanish and English. This is a good look. First Latina and first Cuban to be ever on the Supreme Court of Florida. Again, meaning that she is important for the Hispanic community there, which will help Donald Trump win the state of Florida. Again, vital to him winning the election, period. So this is a good thing. Over here we have plenty of articles covering the fact that they're anti-choice. They're going to get choice. They're going to build on the protections for the Second Amendment. We're going to have a better country. And people are protesting. They're mad. Oh, my abortion, my Ginsburg, my hero. That goes to show everything. This is perfect. Perfect. We need another Scalia on the court. We need another Clarence Thomas on the court. We don't need another weak-willed, deflatable balloon John Roberts. Alright. Now, this is the final map here. Let's give different scenarios for this predicted vote. As you can see here, we have most of the Senate. This is what would happen if Amy Coney Barrett were the nominee. I predict Tillis would say yes. I predict Gardner would say yes. I predict, of course, that Alaska and Maine, Collins and Murkowski will be voting against the nominee before the election, which goes to show that assuming that Romney does vote for, if Romney does vote for the Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, then we will be able to win this. But again, we could have an election prediction or a scenario where if Gardner, for whatever reason, flips, Mike Pence has to break the tie. Or if for whatever reason Tillis changes his mind and then that goes away and the Democrats stop us. I doubt that will happen, though. Now, let's look if the Latina Barbara Lagoa gets nominated. And as you can see right now, you would have Martha McSally voting guaranteed, getting the MAGA base fired up. You have Georgia going all for the Latina. Lindsey Graham voting for Lagoa. Tillis voting for Lagoa. Collins, cucked out neocon. Melissa Murkowski, cucked out moderate. As you can see now, if we pick a more safe choice, such as a person who has not been investigated as much and does not have a lot of vitriol on the left side, like Barbara Lagoa, Colorado senator who's in a deep election, a hard-fought election against John Hickenlooper, he's more likely to go for the safe choice. Electorally speaking, that means that, assuming we get Romney, we will be able to confirm Lagoa. And if we lose Romney, Mike Pence can break the tie. Okay? This is what would happen. We would get both of them passed, probably. I'd say that Lagoa is probably better, optically speaking. I think that Lagoa is going to help Trump win Florida. It'll help him actually get nominated. I see a future where Lagoa will not only help his chances, but it'll take a talking point, an anti-white talking point from the left. And I do think that it would help us with the Supreme Court majority as well, keeping it pretty solidly at least right of center, as well as I think we can start chipping away at certain leftist crap like gun control, abortion rights, gay rights, transvestite rights, whatever you're talking about. And obviously, if I had to say who will he pick, I think he will end up picking, I think he'll end up picking the safe choice, and the safe choice would be Barbara Lagoa, and I think he should pick Barbara Lagoa again. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Predict who you think is going to win. Anyways, guys, adios. Bye.